If you feel like you're constantly attracting the wrong clients, I want you to know something. It is your fault. That it isn't pricing, which is what most people think. It's actually something way different, something that we rarely talk about, but that causes you to attract the wrong people. And that is what I call messaging. See, recently I had a conversation with a firm owner who was telling me they were drowning in to-dos. They were chasing down clients who had messy books and unorganized shoeboxes full of information. And they kept on telling me, David, I don't know how I can get these clients to listen. I'm so frustrated. And I said, well, let's take a look. How are you getting these new clients? And they showed me their ads. And as soon as I looked at them, I knew what was wrong. Their ads, which they use for marketing, said things like, we clean up messy books. We help new startup businesses. We get refunds very fast. All of these messages speak to people who are disorganized, who are newbies or startups, and more importantly, who are transactional instead of relational. You see, most firm owners think they're being helpful by posting messages like that, but the truth is they're being the rescue squad. They're trying to save people from their own demise. See, when you say things like, I clean up messy books, you're just signaling to people that, well, I love working with unorganized clients. Those businesses that say, I clean up credit repair or I fix credit. Although those are good business models, the challenge is you're trying to get people to pay you when they don't even pay their bills to begin with. And you're wondering how I know this? Well, I lived it. See, I had a tax practice that was filing 3,000 tax returns annually. Do you believe I had some bad clients? Well, I did. In fact, a good portion of my clients were very demanding, disappeared after tax season, always wanted me to follow up with them when they never even gave me the paperwork. You know those people who wanted their refunds like yesterday and said, hey, I'm good for it. Can I get a discount? I ran that firm for 12 freaking years. The reason I was experiencing all those challenges was because I was asking for them. My message to the world kept on saying, bring me your problems, bring me your dirty books, bring me all the trash that you have, because I love it. In 2022, I made a change. I said, I'm not gonna focus on tax prep. I'm not gonna focus on compliance. I'm gonna focus on something that I know can get me the change I deserve in my business. And that's when I decided to start offering advisory. And guess what I realized? There were good clients out there. When you learn who you want to serve, then you can use the right messaging to talk to them. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to message correctly. How do you position yourself correctly? And how do you find those ideal clients so that you don't get those clients that you absolutely dislike? So I use a very simple framework in my community, and it's called Maverick Messaging. This is going to be a 3-step process to help you get the right messaging. So first, let's start with positioning. When you hear doctor, you automatically think smart, long hours, school, right? Prestigious. When you hear engineer, mathematics, technical. And the challenge is when people hear accountant, CPA, or tax preparer, they typically think tax form filer, number cruncher, somebody who files forms for a living. And guess what? That is not very valuable. So to be very honest with you, the only way that you can be seen different is by changing your title. And that is what we call positioning. And if you title yourself correctly, you get seen in a different way. Number 2, the right message. It's the difference between the wrong and the right client, because what ends up happening is if you have the right position, let's say you are a tax advisor or a tax strategist, but your message says, I give you fast refunds, you are attracting the wrong person. So you have to talk about the things that the right person has. They pay too much in taxes. They want to build wealth for their families. They hear about all these strategies online and they're saying, oh, I need somebody to help me. Well, you have to have a message that says, I can help you. And the message is, I help high-income earners lower their taxes. I have strategies for people making $250,000 or above. So message the right people. You could filter out good and bad with this. All right, number 3, the right channel. One of the biggest challenges is I hear people say, well, I'm marketing, I'm joined this BNI group, or I joined the chamber, or I'm part of this group or association, and I'm hoping to get business from it. Where you fish determines the type of fish you catch. If you fish in a small pond, do you think you are going to catch big fish? Probably not. And if you fish near the shore, do you think you're going to catch big fish? Probably not. So the farther you go out into the water and the bigger the pond, the bigger the fish. Now, I use this as an illustration because many people go to the local chamber of commerce in their city. They go in there and they say, I'm going to get new business today. I'm going to grow my business. Now, not to discredit any chamber of commerce, but most people who go to these chamber meetings are business employees that are paid to be there, or they are newbies in startup businesses, which you don't want. Who are the people that I'm looking for? Where do they hang out? What are they doing every day? This is so important because if you're not thinking this way, what ends up happening is you run ads with the wrong message, telling people you file taxes, and then you get bad clients, and then guess what? You're like, David, it doesn't work. I'm like, well, because you don't follow the system. With these three steps, they make up the Maverick Messaging system. It's something cool. And in fact, I have a PDF. I'm going to link it down below. Take it for free. Use it so you can go out and get the right clients. Well, I ran an ad back in 2012 when Facebook launched ads. It was like really cool. And I said, man, I got to get leads. Like I got to get people that want to file their taxes. So I put up an ad and I was like, hey, file your taxes with me. And I would get a few leads. And then somebody says, David, why don't you do like a raffle or a giveaway for people who are interested? And I said, that's a great idea. So I put up this ad and I put register to win $1,000 and I put the name of my firm and all that stuff. And so then I was like, yeah. So I ran these ads and I was getting leads for $1, like $1, like less than $1, 70 something cents, $1.20, meaning people were giving me their information for less than $1 in most cases. Now that seems really incredible, but every time I'd call, they'd be like, how'd you get my number? Where'd you call? Where are you from? And then they would put fake email addresses. And then some people would be like, oh, I thought you were calling to give me the money. And I was like, man, why are all these leads crap? Well, because I was asking them to sign up for something for free. What kind of leads are you going to get when you give away free stuff? And so when I learned that, I said, gosh, we got to stop this. I spent like $10,000 to get that. I mean, literally, I was getting 100,000 leads. It was crazy. I remember telling my team, I'm so smart. And then they said, David, we can't get anybody on the phone. When I changed it back to file your return on time or big refunds, I started to get quality. Now, the lead cost, let me tell you something. It went from $1 to $4. So it almost 4 times. Now, most people would say, well, that's a lot of money. $4 to get a customer who's going to give me $300. Is that really a good exchange? Absolutely. At that time, I complained. I walked into the office that day and I was like, guys, we're paying $4 for leads. We're just paying $1. We're going to go broke doing this. And they were like, chill. And I was like, no, I can't chill. We're spending $4. So this goes to show you that when you use the right messaging, you get the right leads. When you get the right leads, those people show up, they're engaged, they answer the phone, and more importantly, they're the right clients.